Hi, it's Jacqueline Lara from Acts Uncut. This holiday season, I decided to return to the motherland and my ancestral home of Uganda, where my parents were born and now live. I haven't been back in 8 years, and so much of it for me is the sights, sounds, smells, and tastes that shift and let me know I'm home. Like the rich aroma at Entebbe Airport that wakes me up, to the sun-kissed pineapple that's sweet as honey. It's also special how we're greeted every time we visit my father's childhood home in Jinja. This lets me know I'm home. On my land, with my people. And with my extended family mostly spread throughout the US, England, and Uganda, this year will be a reunion for the books. We'll be ringing in milestone birthdays, having first time and been a long time gatherings and celebrations with my elders, my sons, my siblings and their families, and other relatives. This all makes me think of what many African Americans have been missing out on if they've never stepped foot on the continent. What the American school system teaches in history books about Africa is so basic and limited, if it's even true. The truth is, constraints and limitations force you to be creative and make a way out of no way. Beyond Uganda's diverse landscapes and rich culture, I'm always struck by people's ingenuity, drive, and entrepreneurial spirits. Which is why going to the motherland is a radical act in and of itself if you've never been. But I encourage you to make 2025 your year of return. It's a place of grace and beauty that every person of African descent should experience at least once in their lifetime. And speaking of radical acts, I have a new radical report from a listener named Cabot who wanted to share this. My radical act is getting sober. I drank for the last time 3 years and 10 months ago, after hitting a rock bottom that held many consequences. But the biggest consequence of all was my sense of self, which had been deteriorated by years of heavy drinking and the cycles of shame that went with it. Getting sober didn't feel like a radical act at the time. It just felt like the only choice. It felt like the only way I could keep living, the only thing that could save my relationships, and honestly, the most effective way to look good for the judge when I had to go to court. The early days of sobriety didn't feel radical. They were hard, scary, tumultuous, and full of temptation. Now that I've been in recovery for a few years and still have every intention to stay sober, I can look back and see how the culture of drinking in the US is so intertwined into everything, and how it is radical to abstain, even if it is in response to an addiction. At the end of the day, staying sober is a radical choice I and many others make every day. Even when we're at Valentine's Day dinner and are brought free champagne. Even when we're at a downtown DC happy hour and everyone around us is starting to loosen up, beers in hand. Even when we're at a family holiday with the booze flowing freely. Even when we have a horrible day and there are countless liquor stores and bars on our commutes home. Even when there's a little voice in the back of our head saying, it's been a few years, so maybe we should give drinking another try. Getting sober has also opened up space for other radical acts that I wouldn't have made otherwise, too. The longer I choose myself by choosing sobriety, the more I trust that I will recognize when opportunities to live a good life arise, and that I will have the power and the courage to say yes. Thank you, Cabot, for that report. If you're interested in being featured in a future Radical Report, then send me a DM on Instagram at Radical Acts Uncut that I can read to listeners about your most recent memorable act and why it was worth it. You never know who you could inspire. You can also send me a 60 to 90 second audio note if that's easier. And if you want to remain anonymous, you can. Again, my Instagram handle is Radical Acts Uncut. That's all for now. The Radical Acts Uncut team is taking a holiday break until the new year. Please be sure to subscribe and rate the podcast wherever you listen. New full-length episodes featuring the founder of the Blindian Project, Jonah Batumzi, and lawyers turned comedians, Jasmine Burton and Elizabeth Booker Houston, are coming mid-January 2025. Until then, happy holidays, and remember to embrace the beauty and the mess.